Hi there. Good day, folks.
Good day to everyone. Welcome to Liminal Writing, where Lee and I do a 10-minute time writing based on a trigger phrase. And here we are.
This one is from some years back, actually.
Mm-hmm.
And we've unearthed it from our
Yes.
so-called vault. And
And
so
we
the
haven't read
trigger,
it since.
yeah. And so the trigger line is when I lay my head on the ground, what do I hear?
Ooh. Okay. I haven't seen this in a long time. So this is like new again to me, whatever I wrote then. Um,
Yeah.
so shall we?
Why don't I go first this time?
Okay.
Okay. Mix it up a little, as if there's
Yep.
only so much that we can mix up. When I lay my head on the ground, what do I hear?
Okay.
It almost never happens, laying my head on the ground. The only part of nature that comes in contact are the trees, leaves, and unlived in spider webs. But in the times that happens, my head cradled by the earth is after a hard, long exertion of the body. I surrender my head, my spine, the back of my legs, and I feel peace, as if Mother Earth is saying, I am prepared to receive that which does not serve you anymore. Release it. And I do, to the soil, to the breathing grass, to the excitable insects, to the toiling worms. I hear a sigh. It is not clear if the sound comes from me or from the earth. Maybe she and I breathe as one. May 28th, 2021.
Yes. Way back when we started
What's
writing.
yours?
Okay. Mine.
Where did you go with this?
Here we go. When I lay my head on the ground, I hear my heartbeat pulsing to the rhythm of trees. It is steady, but it fills me with an odd mixture of worry and gratefulness and anxiousness and peace. I hear the pounding so loud that it is at the cusp of pain and discomfort, but it reminds me that I am alive. When I lay my head on the ground, I hear the echoes of bird sounds from bushes nearby, short, precise notes that are repeated over and over. It is assuring yet evasive in its uncompleted melody. I want to join in and hum, but it's over before I could even start. When I lay my head on the ground, I hear a distant nothingness. I crave for its calmness and its silence, but it is covered with wisps of my own noisy thoughts. I want to get to that space. That's it. I wonder what kind of space, kind of emotional even space we were in, no, when we wrote this back in 2021. It is the beginning of this exercise, right? Around that time.
Around that
So
time.
we did this
Yes.
weekly. So Lee and I go into this weekly virtual writing dates. And that began during the COVID-19 era. And we continued it on, and it's now 2024.
Yeah.
Quite a while. And then last year was it, or early this year, we decided to do the podcast. So sometimes we do live writing, but sometimes we go back to the writing we have done over the years and then talk about it again because it comes fresh. What are your
I
thoughts? Yeah.
I think for this one, it makes me think from the imagery that we both
Hmm.
use, the feeling that I got is that
Hmm.
we were looking for safe,
Hmm. At
safety, and
that time, especially, no?
very much so,
Mm.
health-wise,
Yeah.
globally, well, we were
Yeah.
all feeling anxiousness, as you had
Yeah.
said, very much uncertain of
Yeah.
how our world
Yeah.
would look like from then on.
Yeah.
And so I think the relationship that we have with nature
At the
really
time, yes.
grounds us to say, this is present, this is real, and for now, this is what will help us mentally, physically, emotionally just be aware that we need to take care of ourselves and the people around us. But I think it's kind of like ourselves first,
Mm-hmm.
because it's that relationship that we have to the trees, to the ground, to the
Yeah.
things that are living from the earth.
And yeah, and it's consistent to the fact that at that time we were actually told or well forced by circumstance to isolate
Mm-hmm.
to isolate. So it wasn't about relating to other people, it was keeping your boundaries really tight.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
then at least with us who had the luxury, and I'm saying this because in other countries they didn't have the even have the luxury to have these open spaces to be able to walk to daily,
Yes. Yeah.
and enough open spaces so that you are not actually in contact with others, so you are allowed to actually go out.
Yes.
But here where I was in London the whole time, we had the park, right? We had a
Mm-hmm.
park we could walk to, and then that is where all these imagery and sound and the sensory stuff that I had reflected in my writing, it actually came out, and they were, these sounds of the birds and trees and all that, because we were going to that park every day. But at the same time, for me, came at
Yeah.
a time that I was still recovering from severe COVID,
You're with, yeah.
so just a couple of months after I'd come out of hospital, and must have been also, I don't know if I was still in wheelchair and with an oxygen tank, but
Mm-hmm.
otherwise really just recovering.
Yeah.
And what resonated when you said with your reflection was that it's true. Literally, the ground, the earth was your grounding. It was the only thing that was steady and kind of predictable in a way, solid under our very own feet.
Yeah.
Otherwise,
Yeah.
there was so much uncertainty. We didn't understand what was happening.
Mm-hmm.
Even in 2021, mid of that year, the world was still grappling around how to handle the errors happening,
Oh.
the death rates rising like crazy.
I was taking a memory that I had. There's a park close by to where we live, just south where we live, and
Yeah.
it's just by the lake, and it's called the
Nice.
Adamson Estate.
Okay.
And this it was owned by an old Canadian family. So the architecture of the residence when they lived there, you could see the gabled roof. But it's now a private academy, but the grounds are still open for
Open for
people, for
public.
like neighbors go there, right? So but you just
Ah,
have to be respectful. But there's a landing place just in front of the house where it has steps to the lake. And so that's where in one instance I just laid myself there and just looked up
you really
at the
did. Yeah,
trees. And
yeah.
I just looked up the trees and just
So nice.
listened to, the waves that were coming through. And so it
Yeah,
was that was a moment
so
that I
nice.
was thinking of when I
Yeah.
wrote this piece and say, yeah, you could feel the grass on the back of my arm. I
Yes,
could
you
feel it
can.
on the
Yes,
back
you
of
can.
SARS and just like breathed there.
And in the park where we go,
Yeah.
there's a it's big-ish.
Yeah.
There's much, much bigger parks in London, but this one is kind of in the nearby, but still big.
Yeah.
There's quiet corners, quiet gardens, they call it. It's really the rose
Ah,
gardens are quiet. They're supposed to
you
be
got like a pockets. Oh, pockets,
pockets,
yeah.
more private space, but there's still an
Yeah.
expanse. When you lie down, when I did that,
Yeah.
lying on my back and then looking up, then you see
Yeah.
this big trees that
Yeah.
um different layers because there's different trees, right? But there's just this big trees that kind of hover over you, and because in May it's very green.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Alive.
how and they say there's these trees that they have a way of not overlapping. They kind of have their boundaries. They have spaces. They have
Hmm.
spaces in between. I don't know what it's
Yes.
called. It's just so wonderful, actually, and you can see that pattern when you go up, when you look up. It's just beautiful. And then the sky above it, of course, with the background of the blue sky. And the few times that London has blue skies. But I hear you. And when you say that whole kind of combined sensation of the prickly grass behind you, and at the same time,
Hmm.
the ground, sometimes it's not even very even, right? You can feel
Yeah.
some of the
No.
stones,
Yeah. Yeah.
but then the grass, and then you look up And then there's the trees and the sky. It's almost like just the oneness with nature. And
Mm.
when life kind of quote unquote normalized, I realized no, I haven't done that in a long, long, long time.
Yeah. Mm.
But even my therapist was doing that with me when she met up with me in London once. I brought her to that park and we were talking, and she made me take off my shoes. Both of us did, and we walked
Um,
on the grass barefoot because it's just
mm.
part of a grounding. It's a literal grounding
And then,
exercise.
yeah.
How much that does to your spirit. I don't do as much of it as we should. I think, especially not
Yeah.
laying your head on the ground.
Yeah, I know. Especially these days. We're back already to a rhythm of the fast pace
Mm.
of business, right? I think this just helps. It
It's a
reminds
reminder.
us
It's a very
that,
good reminder.
it could be really integral to our health to just
Yeah,
like do a pause
it
and
is.
feel the solid things around us.
Yeah. So on that,
Oh,
let's lay our head
yeah.
on the ground more often.
See how it feels like for you. Write about your experience.
Mm.
Um, could be very personal. It could be something that is connected to other parts of what you're doing right now. But yeah, lay your head on the ground.
And try this technique that Lee and I have been doing with liminal writing,
Mhm.
where you would pick this phrase like when I lay my head on the ground, dot, 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 and then just
Mm.
keep writing, keep your hand moving for 10
10 minutes.
minutes
Mm.
and see where it takes you.
Happy exploring.
Yeah.
Bye for now.